Okay, I think everything is set up. All right, so as some of you may have or may know, I played an online tournament on Monday. It was the CDG Fight Fest, and apparently they said it was probably the first tournament that was sponsored by the game to hand out packs and all that stuff. So it was the first official tournament. We had what, 160, 170 participants, and we ended up taking the whole thing. There was 7 rounds of Swiss. We went 7-0 in Swiss, and then we took it, top 16, top 8, top 4, and then in finals we swept. So it was kind of surprising. We won the whole thing, and to boot, we never lost. We didn't lose in Swiss. We didn't lose in the finals when it was best of 3. So we're just gonna take a look at some gameplay. We'll do some analysis, maybe point out some stuff. So I played a lot of games. We're not gonna go through all 12 games. So I kind of looked back at some of the games before this, and I think top 16 onwards, we had some pretty good games. So I'm gonna go ahead and start it here. So first one is top 16 against Hope. And he's playing some version of Kagero. Yeah, I closed the hand because it was an online tournament and I was streaming as I was doing it. So I just wanted to make sure no one knew what my hand was and stream snipe me and whatnot, just to be safe, because it was a tournament setting. Unfortunately, I don't have a version of the recording where I show you my hand, because I didn't record another one with showing. So we are gonna play with me, not even knowing my own hand, and I don't think I can remember every single hand that I had. We're just gonna go off of what I play. So far, pretty standard. Ride grade 1. I'm just writing down the stack. Now this was a very intense match because I just went 7-0 in Swiss, and then now it's elimination, right? Now it's like, oh, if I'm gonna have my first loss, that eliminates me from the tournament. Because to say if I lost in round 7, it didn't really matter. I was gonna make top 16 anyways. But from here on out, I had to win out, and I hadn't lost yet. So I was just like, oh no, is the loss coming? And also, this was the featured match on their stream, so we had a bunch of people watching as well. Yeah, so what was really tough about this one was that I'm pretty sure I sent a bunch of heals to the bottom, and I had to get to it really fast because he rode blockade. I was gonna die really fast, but I needed to stack, or I needed to accelerate my deck so I get to my stack fast. You go rearguard to rearguard, that's okay. Vanguard to Vanguard, very standard. The heal does help me, and I go ahead and damage here, but I honestly, it's really bittersweet because I hate hitting heal triggers on unused counter blasts. Although what can you do, right? You can't control it, and I mean I'm not even at grade 3 yet. It's not like I could have used a counter blast even if I wanted to. Alright, he slams down blockade. Now, one way I like to go to play against blockade is that if you make an amazing column, so like say I had like a Gemini Oracle or whatever, the AK booster behind Takitsuhime there, alright, that would make a nasty column for 21. So making those kind of columns actually makes them hit that rear guard for you, right? So basically, even though they can ignore intercept, they can't really ignore that column. I hit double stands on defensive triggers here. Honestly, that's probably one of the worst times I could hit them, because that thing's gonna hit 19k anyway, trigger or not. Yeah, trigger or not, the guy was gonna hit. So I actually would have rather not hit any triggers there, no defensive triggers. So I save them for later. Once again, what can you do? That's the RNG factor. So yeah, when I make choices like that where I have to either soul charge or put a card to the bottom of the deck, we get a little glimpse of my actual hand. So the thing is, I'm not in a bad spot right now, but I'm not in a good spot. I'm in a bad spot in the sense that I'm higher in damage, and I know that there's a lot of stuff on the bottom of my stack. Like right there, I attacked in a way where my Tagiti Hime could just be a trigger soak, because I don't think I'm gonna hit any stand triggers. He does hit the defensive draw trigger, which sucks. Tagiti Hime can't hit anything, but at least I get to punch out something. At least I get a little bit of value. I do think, if I remember correctly, stuff starts to go south really fast right here. Oh yeah, that heal right there. And then the Archdragon on the side is going to hit for a lot. Oh yeah, things start going south right here. So the reason why I chose OTT for the tournament, two big things, right? Or two big things. One, in a tournament setting, I value consistency. Even if stuff like Perfect Riser or Kagero are technically either what people either say higher tier, they're stronger, I value consistency. Like, in all honesty, you know, Perfect Riser, Kagero up here, OTT probably just a little bit lower, right? If anything, and maybe just a little bit. Definitely not super low, but you know, from the rest of it, it's maybe just a little lower. But consistency. I mean, I was very fortunate in my whole streak in Swiss 7-0. I didn't miss right at all, and the deck basically did exactly what it does every single game. There's a lot of games that let's see what's actually going on real quick here. Oh yeah, so here actually real quick, I had to make a conscious decision, because I remember my hand here where I had the Tom in hand, but I didn't really have any other attackers, and I definitely needed a push. Like, if the game went on any longer than one more turn, I don't think I would have survived. So I had to make the conscious decision to either put that Tom down or try to keep it as a win con. But if I didn't put it down, I wouldn't get him to close enough to use the Tom in the first place. So I had to slam it down, even though that was my second Tom. I do believe for this very first one though, I do have enough perfect guards to fight off the attack. But going back to why I chose OTT, consistency, right? So that's number one. I basically just was able to do my thing the entire time, and then some of the other people I faced, they had inconsistencies in their deck. Like one guy that I faced was Perfect Riser. I noticed that he wasn't playing much Riser names, and guess what? That ended up biting him in the butt, right? He had to minus another one to put another Riser in the soul to get enough soul. And yeah, it was just some of my opponents had inconsistent decks, and that is actually what made the difference. And then number two, I don't like. I think, knowing your stack and being able to manipulate and see your triggers and basically hit triggers late game whenever you want, I think that's too strong, and that's exactly what happened. So this actually, here's a perfect example right here. So I'm gonna put all these guys out. I know there's blockade, but I'm just gonna try to push for damage. And notice I hit with the red eyes first. So I wanted to get a for sure hit for a soul charge. This actually let me set up for double heal on 6. Yeah, so I knew on my stack, because I wrote it in my notes, that I needed to cycle through 3 cards and hitting the draw trigger as well. So I'm pretty sure I think I had triple heal. So if you see, I hit the draw trigger right there, and then I believe that I'm gonna hit a 6 damage heal trigger and then draw another heal trigger. So if he managed to hit me twice, I would have healed on 6 twice. But that's just making sure you know your stack, right? Because I could have totally, if I didn't know my stack, I could have attacked the other way first and basically hit with the Oracle Red Eyes last and not been able to soul charge. And if that happened, I wouldn't have gotten to everything, because then I think I would have hit a draw trigger on my 6 damage check. But that just goes to show you, right? The power of being able to know your stack. This is top 16 right now. So right now I'm just chilling. I know I have a 6 damage heal here. And then I remember through my head, because I was really nervous about this, I was like, wait a minute, is the Archduke Dragon gonna be able to hit me? And I was like, oh wait, even if it did, see, I drew another heal trigger. So I mean, I set it up so that I would heal on 6. I know the player after this game asked, like, oh, did you have another heal? I'm like, yeah, I did. So yeah, I mean, at this point, he has no interceptors. He's at 5 damage. I don't need Tom or anything. It's just trying to swing in for game, hoping he doesn't heal again. But that was a very, very tough match, because that one point in mid game, he was at 2 damage. I was at 5 damage, and I think I remember counting like, oh my god, I have like half my deck to go before I hit the 3 heal triggers. So yeah, it looked pretty grim at one point, but I just, I just tried to make sure I stayed cool and just get to my stack. Alright, so let's try to cut to the next game here. Alright. So this is top 8 now versus Wilson and Karen. So this was a mirror match, and what I noticed right away was that this guy ran more draws than me. I think this guy ran like this guy ran 6 draws. And the thing is, he drew more cards than me. Like, he had more cards than me, but it didn't really do much. Well, I think what ultimately made the difference in this game, if I remember correctly, was my stand triggers over his draw triggers. So we're gonna go through these pretty standard openings. Alright, this is just making sure we check our stack properly, making sure we know what's there. Honestly, in almost every card game I play, I actually do not like playing mirrors because in some cases mirror matches are a very big skill matchup. In some cases, it's basically who draws better. Oh, so it looks like I missed the grade 1 Tsukiyomi. But I think I did see I drew a half moon Tsukiyomi. So I'm okay because that's really the most important one. If you miss the grade 1 Tsukiyomi ride, you're only missing one soul charge. If you miss the grade 2 Tsukiyomi ride, then you're missing two soul charges. And two soul charges mean either you need double red eyes, which is highly unlikely, or you sit on Amaterasu for a couple turns, or you have to re-ride, which is a big minus. Just for missing the grade 2. So that is super, super huge. So in this case, whenever I miss the grade 1 but have the grade 2 in hand, I don't panic too much. Not at all. And then over on the other side, my opponent has the perfect ride, but he soul charged 2 heal triggers. And honestly, I think I'm a little fortunate that he didn't decide to put more cards down when I'm on a 6K Vanguard. He may have not had anything, but honestly, if I were in his shoes, if I had something, I would have put it down. So yeah, I had the grade 2 Tsukiyomi in hand. That means I got the 2 soul charges. Since I missed the grade 1, I'm only missing 1 soul charge. And since I had the red eyes in hand, then I'm definitely going to put it down. I'm going to be okay. I have the 6 soul. And I got to make sure I attack with it first, though. It's not like I'm going to ride the red eyes, because I definitely want the 2 soul charges with the Tsukiyomi. And I have to attack with the red eyes first to get the for sure hit. Right? Leave nothing up to chance. Get the for sure hit. And then I see here that he got a defensive draw trigger. So I decided not to, because even if that's basically 2 to pass, right? So I'm not going to hit it. I might as well save my triggers. So say I do hit a trigger, might as well save it for the defensive check. I'm going to go over the deck list in a bit. But it's pretty easy. 4 half moons, 4 Tagutsuhimes, 2 red eyes, 2 toms, 1 10k vanilla. This was actually, looking at his deck list, I remember this was one of the biggest difference too. He did not run the red eyes, but he ran these grade 2 angels instead. Yeah, there was one time the 10k vanilla had a chance to shine, but then he kind of just like ate it. 2 toms for, well, 2 reasons, I think. So number 1 reason, I only had 2 toms. It's not like it's not like I had 4 toms and chose to only play 2. I just had the 2 toms. Ooh, I think I misclicked there. So yeah, I only had 2 toms, and honestly, I didn't want to draw more of him. He made really weak columns when you draw him early. You really just want to see him to end the game, and that's really it. Otherwise, you actually really don't want to see him. If you watch any of these games, I actually, if you draw him early, you're just gonna hold him in your hand, and if I draw him early enough, I'm actually just gonna cycle him back to the bottom of the deck. You don't want to see him early. Ooh, so yeah, looks like unfortunate right there, drawing a heal trigger, but I have the grade 3 angel that lets me cycle 2, so I could do the same thing. Uh, yeah. Always put the trigger on the side just in case you hit it. In this case I do, so then that side column is going to be really big. And fortunate enough for me, I get to cycle another card, and I have a grade 3 in hand still, so it's just going to go to the bottom of the deck. One thing I like to do, if you see how I set it up, I put the grade 3 in front of the one booster, and then the grade 2 on the other side. People say always do the opposite. I don't know why people have that logic, but my reasoning behind this is that the grade 2 is going to die anyway, right? It's an interceptor. It's going to die. So if... Here, let me use my mouse. So say if I switched it up, right? The grade 3 is on this side, the grade 2 is on this side. The grade 2 is most likely going to die because they're going to attack it. It's an interceptor. They have to. And then now you're stuck with a booster over here and a grade 3 over here. And sometimes you may not have anything, right? So then this is just going to be an awkward grade 1 just kind of just down here. And then you have a attacker that doesn't have a boost. This way, it will just stay here unless they choose to attack it. At that point, what can you do? But at this point, right, he's going to attack that, right? And now I still have this column. So he's most likely going to focus his efforts on the Vanguard now. Now I still have a full column. So the reasoning behind swapping those, I don't know why you do it the other way. Okay, so in this case, it really didn't matter because he did go after the rear guard. I kind of don't know why he went after that. Maybe he doesn't want me to cycle because he saw me do it a couple times. Maybe he wanted to stay at 4 damage, so if he hits a defensive heal trigger, he'll actually heal. That might tell me the strength of his hand, though, because that means he wants to drag the game on. What I notice about a lot of OTT players, they want to drag the game on, but they don't really have a game plan for it. Like, they don't have a part of their stack that they want to hit that will go for game, or, you know, I watched the other mirror match in top 8, and it went to deck out. Like, they both wanted to drag the game on so much that they decked out. So yeah, the reasoning behind leaving the booster for the grade 2s is if you have like a 9k grade 2 that can't hit on its own. I guess that's dependent on your hand. I mean, I guess if you have like, you know, a handful of grade 2s that are all 9k, then yeah, maybe you put the grade 2 in front of the booster. But then you're gonna run out of grade 2s really fast, and then you're still stuck in that awkward position. Okay, I actually don't exactly remember what happened here, but this guy slams down the Tom, and I'm at 4 damage, so it's possible that I die. The thing is, I think I remember I went through the same thought process where this guy is playing only 2 stand triggers. And I was like, is he gonna hit it? Like, if he hits it, then yeah, I could die right here, because also he put the AK booster behind it. That makes 16 if I hit a non-damage trigger. And also, he is doing a red eye play as well. So I'm wondering, okay, maybe he knows what's on his stack. But then he blanks out. I'm like, why would you do that? I mean, okay, maybe you have a defensive trigger on top because you think you're going to die next turn? So I'm a little confused. Like, he put the top... He put the Tom down, right? That means you know he's going to try to push. He put the red eyes down, so that means you know he's going to... You know, he should know his stack and he wants to manipulate it. But then he blanks out. So I'm like, what's going on here? Why did you do that play? Why did you put the Tom down now? You have a huge hand. Don't tell me you don't have any other attackers. This was actually on... I believe it was Sunday morning, so it was the day right before set 4 came out. So this is pre-set 4 tournament. Yep. So looks like right there, I was in the good spot where he's at 5 damage. I just slammed the Tom down. So I mean, at that point, right? I don't need a big play. He's at 5 damage. I just slammed the Tom down. Easy peasy. All right. So this is top 4 against BTCS, and it's another mirror match. And I actually think I remember what went down in this game, but let's watch it so I know that my memory's correct. In terms of finding a good Tsukiyomi list for set 4, I'm not quite sure. I'm actually thinking about adjustments to make to this Tsukiyomi deck to stand against set 4 stuff. I believe it can. I still believe what the deck does still is good within the mechanics of the game to go against set 4. Alright, so it looks like early on I put a heal and a stand to the bottom of the deck. So when we hit the stack, we'll hit the ground running. Ooh, and it looks like once again I didn't hit the ride. I remember the whole day, all 7 rounds of Swiss, perfect ride. Top 8, I think it was, or top 16, perfect ride. In my top 8 and top 4 matches, I missed the ride. But I built the deck so just in case I miss ride, I can recover. That's the reason why like the red eyes are in there. That's why Amaterasu's in there to regain the soul. I think one of these lists that I played against, I saw the deck list. They basically had they had like 2 or 3, maybe 3 cards that allowed them to get 6 soul if they chose a miss ride. So that deck list was saying I am gonna hit my perfect chain ride every single game, and otherwise basically it's unrecoverable. So I didn't really agree with those deck lists. So here, I mentioned earlier that hitting the grade 2 is the most important one, right? I missed the grade 1 again. I only missed 1 soul charge. I have the grade 2, I got the 2 soul charges. I think this guy is writing down his stack. Oh no, he just took a while to go into ride phase. I don't know. I mean, all these deck lists are different. I think they're unique. I'm not exactly sure if they're a specific deck or a specific list. Okay, so yeah, the big thing here, he misses Half Moon Tsukiyomi, so he's missing the 2 soul charges. And look, he also plays the angel that doesn't let him recover. If those 2 are red eyes, then he would have had 6 soul right here, no problem. So he just needs to put down the full moon. But in this case, his deck doesn't really allow him. Yeah, he's gonna hit for some damage, but I think the main thing is that I'm gonna have 6 soul. I'm gonna be able to use my Tsukiyomi skill, and so far, it's gonna be a while before he could use his. Yeah, nice. And I did hit the full moon Tsukiyomi there, so I got another nice plus. Another big advantage that I hit the grade 2 Tsukiyomi is that I got an extra I got an extra 5 cards on my stack, so I'm getting there a little faster. So let's see what I do here. I'm probably right now, I'm probably calculating how many cards are in my stack, how many cards I need to get to the stack, how many triggers are in there. One thing, if you notice right now, I don't just jump the gun, counterblast 2 and draw cards. So at some points I look at, okay, so how many triggers do we have in the stack, right? How many triggers are left in the deck in total? How many cards are in the stack? So it could be something like okay, so we have 6 cards until we hit our stack, but just from our known information, we have, say, 4 triggers in the next 6 cards, right? Where the, so I don't want to draw. The odds are drawing a trigger are too high, so I'll just save it for now. I think right here, I'm just going back to making sure that what I checked, I wrote to the bottom of my deck. And yes, we're analyzing. This is top 4 now, I believe. And this is the second mirror I've had to play. So he had the Tsukiyomi in hand. The thing is, he's still missing 2 soul. So, those 2 cards right there in his front rear guards, or his front rows, like, they can't activate their ability. He doesn't have 6 soul. So that's resources you can't use right now. In this specific scenario, we both missed the chain ride, but I was set up a little better to recover. Actually, look, thinking about it, wait, did I actually get 6 soul? Because I think I was explaining something else, but I remember I missed one. Oh, I did. So yes, I didn't have 6 soul. Oh, I think I remember. So I rode just so I could have 6 soul, and then I think maybe I figured that there wasn't that many triggers that are in the remainder until the stack, so this was okay. So actually pretty even so far. I mean, I'm actually a little bit behind because it was 2 to 4. Oh yeah, this part I was just like, oh, I'm in a position where I could Mega Blast. Do I actually want to Mega Blast? I was like, oh no, that is definitely not worth it. Yeah, I actually already, yeah, I from that right there, you see that I actually already did have a Tsukiyomi in hand. So I was like, yeah, might as well rewrite Amaterasu for a turn, get that 6 soul, rewrite Tsukiyomi. And then the Amaterasu, boy, it helped, right? It got me the 6 soul, it got, soul charge, and it scryed, allowing me to get to my stack. And remember, in the beginning of this game, we had a strong stack on the very first check, right? So this is where, this is definitely where you start sweating. But then he doesn't have anything else. Like, you see him slam the Tom, and you're like, oh no, is he gonna go for a power play? But then he doesn't have anything. Like, he swings with the Vanguard. Oh my god. He swings with the Vanguard. He hits the rear guard, but then he doesn't even hit a trigger. The Tom can't even clear it to get to Hime. So this was absolutely huge. Absolutely. Like, oh, that puts you so far back. Like, oh, yeah, that was so big. So now I think I'm considering not rewriting, but I was like, nah. I think, like, I'm gonna use this resource because in this actually particular deck build, if you don't counterblast the Tsukiyomi, those counterblasts aren't being used. Plus, there's without a doubt that I'm getting to my stack. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. Just drawing all the non-triggers. So you see me drag up the Tom, where. So at this point, I don't exactly remember my stack. I check anyway. I was like, okay, let's play the Tom. The thing is, the Tom only makes with the blue eyes only makes a column of 15. So with the trigger, even if even with the trigger, if he hits a defensive trigger, then Tom can't hit. Right? We knew that he was coming. We even checked with Coco. So yeah, at this point, yep, he hits the defensive draw, and unfortunately, because that makes doesn't hit the magic number, right? We can't hit. It's only 20k on 21. That's why I hesitated putting down the Tom. But I was like, okay, if he just doesn't hit a defensive trigger, we could end this right here. In hindsight, since we know it's a heal trigger, we're going to 3 damage. Then I think we would have been okay anyway, so we could have put something else down. So I think in hindsight, not putting down the Tom would have been safer. So I think that's a play that I could have done better. I think putting down the Tom was a little greedy on my part. But I would probably be saying something different if he didn't hit the trigger, and we won the game right there. But I think in hindsight, the smarter play would have been not to put the Tom down. And I think I remember what happens after this turn. Yeah, so I think we were in a good spot. I totally forgot if I actually had another Tom in hand or not. But moving the blue eyes up, I probably had a trigger coming up. I did not want to cycle probably. I think I remember that I had a lot of perfect guards in hand, and I knew that there was a heal trigger on top. Ah, yes, that's right. Before I put that perfect guard down, I had 3 perfect guards, and here I'm deciding whether to put the Tom back or the perfect guard back. So I figured I'd keep the Tom. And, if he doesn't heal, then I get to go for game next turn, right? I just drop the Tom down, go for game. And otherwise I have a perfect guard, I have an interceptor. I know there's a heal on top, so I think that's why I decided to go for that. He also has a pretty big hand. Without the Tom, I don't think that I could go through all the perfect guards. And then on another note, if he still has Tom, then those perfect guards don't mean anything. and I'd rather just waste a put down a perfect guard since I had two more in hand in order to basically go for damage this turn. And yeah, he's still sitting over there with less than 6 soul. So all 5 of that damage, he can't touch that resource. Unfortunate for him. And he didn't put down a Tom. He puts down, the 10k and the 7k, super weak columns. And I'm just like, I'm safe. Like at this point, this is what you like to see from your opponent. Yeah, so what's funny here is that I know there's a heal on top, so because he healed, I get to heal. I was like, okay, I am super safe. Even if I don't get to finish him off with Tom, like, I'm in a good spot. I have a full field, I have good columns. Yeah, I think it was a really funny scenario. Because really I just wanted that heal trigger for a defensive power. But it turns out because he healed, I got the heal. Yeah, and unfortunately, the only thing the Blue Eyes could hit was the perfect guard. The thing is, I'm pretty sure if he didn't hit it, I would have retired it anyway. Alright, so I think I know I got a bunch of grade 2s on top, so I'm able to call a bunch of beaters out. And because he healed, that's actually why I'm hesitating yet again to put the Tom down. Because it's really important to know when you want to put your Toms down, especially because this is my second and last one. Yeah, once again, he hit a trigger on the defensive check. So even if I get a trigger here, the Tom's not going to hit. I didn't even need a trigger for my Vanguard to hit. Which I do think I remember it. I knew it was coming through. So yeah, and then between the choice, because I can't hit the Vanguard, between the choice of hitting a booster and hitting a 10k beater, yeah, I'm gonna hit the 10k attacker. Yeah, and also, fortunately, I had a perfect guard coming up. So I was able to get rid of my Half Moon Tsukiyomi for another perfect guard. So now I'm sitting on 2 interceptors and 2 perfect guards, and I'm still able to take a damage, I believe. I think I'm at 4 damage? Yeah, because I healed, right? I'm at 4 damage now. So I'm like, I feel safe. I feel like I have this unless he drops another Tom. So I'm wondering, do you have it? And then at this moment, when you go to battle phase with that on the field, I was like, I'm completely safe. Like, no matter what combination of triggers you could possibly hit, like I'm safe. I'm not dying. And it basically just comes to question is, are you gonna heal again? If you don't heal, then I super win. So yeah, he didn't hit the heal trigger. So and he doesn't have any interceptors. He's at 5 damage, 1 card in hand. It looks pretty good for me. Yeah, and he didn't even hit any triggers for that Blue Eyes to hit. So the thing is, I really want to end the game right here, right now. So I just dropped down my perfect guards. We're going for it. Only has to hit 11k. The last card in his hand was a perfect guard, but then I just hit with the side. Boom, and we got it. So yeah, I mean, he sat on that Tsukiyomi the whole time. Wasn't able to touch those counter blasts. And then here we go. This is the grand finals. And I played this guy in Swiss. And it was funny enough for the game for the Swiss round, I actually misplayed against him, but still won. And he's playing Perfect Riser. So I love and hate this deck. Like, I kind of hate playing against it, but then when I play it, I'm like, I don't like playing this deck. Alright, good start. We got the Crescent Moon Tsukiyomi. Yeah, this guy always hit Transriser. I think I saw, because I watched some of his other featured matches, he'd always hit Transriser or hit something off of Transriser, but there's one time I saw that he actually didn't get it off. But like one time out of like 10 tries is really good. Or yeah, getting it 9 times out of 10 is actually pretty good. So here was a little bit interesting. I got a damage trigger, and at first I was like, oh, I might force him to boost with the Battle Riser, but I was 17, he was 12. So it was triggered to hit with just hitting with his Riser, but then if he boosted, it's still 15 on 17, still triggered to hit, so same thing. So it was good play on him to not boost. He didn't need to, and if he has the grade 2 Riser custom, then he's gonna still need that Battle Riser out there. So for me, he decided to rush me. So what I'm going through here in my head is that I have a lot of grade 2. I could afford kind of a big play right here. So I'm gonna take one Riser name off the board, and maybe that he doesn't have enough to put in, or maybe he has to minus a little bit more to get a full Riser soul. Otherwise, you've seen in basically all of my other matches I just played, I don't like to do a big play on turn 2. So yeah, he has a grade 2 Riser custom. I'm on my camera right here. Or is I just randomly not focused? Yeah, so he hits a perfect guard on the Transriser. That's still bittersweet, right? You know, he hit something, he got a booster, but it is a perfect guard, so it's kind of you're right, bittersweet. And he hit this, so he drops a second Transriser, and he needed that to be a booster or the last King of Sword in his deck, because if he didn't hit either of them, then he wouldn't have been able to hit or go over my 10k vanilla. That was huge. That was honestly pretty lucky. He got something off of Transriser twice, and then it's like, okay, so you just showed me 2 non-triggers. Next one's probably a trigger. So I was like, yeah. Oh boy, that was a strong turn on his part. At least lucky enough, I'm hitting the ride chain. So I think I'm calculating right here how many, what's the percentage or what's the stats that I'm going to draw non-triggers versus triggers. Also looking at his field, looking at his hand, you see right there I have 3 triggers in my hand. Do I want to keep the cards to cycle? because it's still pretty early. I just rode grade 3, so if we start cycling stuff to the bottom now, we'll get to it, right? A little lucky also, I have 2 Taketsuhimes in my hand. It makes hitting this King of Sword really easy so that I could attack without the boost, so that if I hit a stand trigger, it'll be a pretty strong play. So you hit a non-trigger, start putting those triggers back, I put a heal back to the bottom. And I do hit the stand trigger. So then I'm going to have a good return play here. And to get to Hime, hitting that King of Sword without the boost really helps. Because if not, then this wouldn't have hit right here. Yeah, he hits double draw trigger. So he has a huge hand. He has everything. So yeah, he has, he perfect road. He has a huge hand. He basically has a good field. So really the only thing that is not really in his favor right now is that he's up in damage. Oh yeah, that's true. He checked a draw trigger, then he damage checked two draw triggers. So he definitely has everything in his hand. But the thing is, out of that entire huge hand that he got, he didn't get any grade 2s, I guess, right? If he dropped a grade 2, definitely would have been able to hit. So that told me that he just doesn't have any grade 2s to intercept, no shields essentially. And then for the Battle Riser, it doesn't really matter where he puts it, as long as he puts it down somewhere and boosts with it. He definitely wants to send that back now, because with that field, it's telling me he doesn't have any grade 2s. You want to try to draw a grade 2 on this. Also, sending another trigger in there can help you get a good defensive trigger, or try to make a good power play during the next turn. We're even in damage now, but at least the Perfect Riser gave me 2 damage, and it gave me enough damage to be able to use Tsukiyomi's skill. And I remember at this point, I know what my stack is. I'm like, oh, I could draw. I'm going to draw a Perfect Guard and draw a Tom. So I think because I was a little bit PTSD from the last game, because the thing is, I could have dropped the Tom right here, right? Same scenario. If he doesn't hit a defensive trigger, I could kill him with Tom, but he's at 4, and I think because of what happened last game, I chose to not put Tom down. I was like, all right, I mean, no interceptors. I'm gonna try just push him to 5, right? So in this case, I did it this way because I knew I'm gonna go for a Perfect Guard, and then I knew that we're gonna get a stand trigger next. So with that case, might as well get a plus with it, right? Punch out a rear guard because I can, and make use of the stand trigger rather than just give him power. I think this is actually a good case scenario because I could still hit with the red eyes, but I actually didn't want a soul charge. So because it was probably going to proc a Perfect Guard, it doesn't go through, I don't have to soul charge, or I don't get the soul charge. And I was actually really surprised right here. He actually didn't have another Perfect Guard, but then right after that, he healed on 6. And I think I'm still in control. I'm pretty sure I have at least a Perfect Guard or 2 in my hand. And his decision to ride a Surkaiser, I don't know, because I'm an 11k Vanguard. The Muscle Hercules on the right side is not going to hit my Vanguard by itself. Even if he stands the Riser Custom, that's only 14. I don't even have to hit a defensive trigger, and that's not going to hit anything. And he ends up not hitting a trigger. I mean, I think I knew I was going to hit the defensive heal trigger. Oh yeah, I'm looking at my myself on the other screen now. I'm like checking off. So I knew it was a heal trigger there. Let's see what I put down here. So he's at 5 damage, no reason to not put down the Tom. And besides, last turn we did attack for lethal, but I did use the grade 3's effect to bind a card, so that one card could have been a perfect guard. So this is finals. It is best of 3. So I took game 1. And honestly, I think everything went pretty well for me. The deck was just consistent. It just did what it's supposed to do. I did technically end it with Tom, so kind of like, I would say that. Actually, yeah. I mean, we did proc it the turn before. And we won so many games off of Tom. The thing is, just the world will never know if they actually did have perfect guards or not. Alright, let's watch the final game. So yeah, at this point, I'm just like, I just need the one more. You see me putting back the Crescent Moon, so it looks like I have it in my hand. But I'll say, I need one more. At this point, I've been playing for like 6 hours straight. And we were what? We were 11-0 at this point. It would really, really suck if we if we lost here. Yeah, you can tell that guy's cool. He's a little confident. We'll say that. So it looks like I have a Tom, a stand. I have double stands on top of my deck. So that's the very first thing I see is double stands on top of my stack. And I remember how it ends. We go to that at the end. Alright, hitting the grade 1 Transriser, pretty good. And actually, I respect what he does here. With knowing his hand and because he put the Battle Riser behind the Vanguard in game 1. But this game he put it on the side. And I guess just maybe knowing his hand, like this is a pretty strong turn 2 play. Yeah, so yeah, the grade 1 Riser custom gets the boost from Battle Riser. The Jack gets the boost gets the plus 5k just from being boosted, and he attacked in a good order so that if I didn't hit any triggers, all 3 could hit. So I definitely respect that play. It was a very strong play, well thought out, because putting the Trans Riser on the side versus behind the Vanguard, you knew that he was planning that from the get-go, and I thought that was very well executed. So here, I missed the grade 2 Tsukiyomi. I'm missing 2 soul, but fortunately I have 2 red eyes. So I'm gonna get the 2 soul right away. And I got a heal trigger. So I was like, okay, this is looking pretty good for me. He had a strong 2 play, but this right here is feeling like I recovered. And then, unfortunately for him, he has to ride, which I assume is his heal trigger. I forgot what that card is called exactly, but it doesn't do anything. He just gets plus 3k when you counterblast 1. And that's the first time I've seen him miss something with Transriser at a most critical moment, too. So, at this part, I'm feeling pretty confident. I do believe I have the full moon in hand, so then right when I go to grade 3, I could just ride the full moon and I could start drawing cards. Yeah, Death Metal Droid, thank you. And if you see here too, I damage checked 3 perfect guards. If he had perfect riser, oh boy, it would have been a different game. Yeah, plus, you know, I'm at 4 damage still. Even though that he's on Death Metal Droid, I'm at 4 damage to his 2 damage. I gotta catch up. Let's see what I go for. I think once again, usually at this point, I check to see what's the percentage that I actually draw triggers or not. Sometimes I do it because I just need cards. Oh, very unfortunate there. I drew a heal trigger and a draw trigger. I figure I could cycle those heals back. So I just keep them. I send the Amaterasu and Soul. And I choose to do Full Moon's skill again, and I draw another trigger. Very unfortunate, so that's 3 triggers that probably won't be used or seen for a while. But at least I have the grade 3 that cycles back. And I should be pretty close to my stack at this point. I drew another heal trigger off that draw trigger. But not to worry, at least she could start cycling cards back. I think I have like 3 triggers in my hand at this point. Yeah, I have 2 heals and a stand in my hand. And that's the scary part. I'm at 4 damage and I just sent a heal trigger to the bottom. I have 2 in my hand, 1 on the field. Like, oh boy, it's like, you know, when you send a heal trigger to the bottom, you think you gotta drag the game out, but then you're at 4 damage already, so it's just like, oh, I don't know if you can. Plus we have 3 perfect guards in the damage zone. So even though he had to ride the Death Metal Droid, like, we're not out of the woods quite yet. But fortunate enough, he attacks for game here, and he had to attack with the rear guard first because that's only a 14k column. At this point, you know, if he attacked that way, he could hit with the Vanguard and go for game. Fortunately for him, he heal blocks himself. Fortunate for me, I have the last perfect guard in my hand, and I remember I started with it in my opening hand, right? It's perfect riser. If you draw a perfect guard in your opening hand, you're gonna keep it. So that one perfect guard was safe for the game, and then I damage checked the rest. Oh, and this decision right here. So I kind of wanted to just end it. So with what I just said last turn, right? We have a heal trigger in our hand. We just sent one to the bottom. We have no more perfect guards, right? So we want to end it here, and I knew I had double stand coming up, right? So I was like, so even if he hits a defensive trigger here, Tom will be able to hit because especially 1, it's a 10k Vanguard, and 2, I have double stands coming up. So he hit that first stand, put it there. So that column now hits 20k on his 10k. We hit the second stand, and I figure even if it hits a defensive trigger, Tom will be able to hit. So let's go ahead and put it on the Tagitsuhime, so that if he doesn't hit a defensive trigger, then I could wipe out a perfect guard first, just in case he heals on 6. So that's the entire thought process behind all that. So the world may never know if he actually did have another perfect guard, but yeah, we got it with Tom with the double stands, and that's, you know, why we chose OTT, because we know our stack.